My name is Dr. Alexander Berry, a physician in Western Massachusetts. This is a brief update on testing for coronavirus in Western Massachusetts as of April 19th, 2020. If you want to reopen for movement and business, testing is the key. But do we have enough testing capacity, and are we able to utilize the capacity we have? What we now know about COVID-19, it's very different than the flu. It's insidious. It gets everywhere. Between 60 to 80% of infected individuals have no or minimal symptoms. Individuals are highly infectious for 2 to 3 days before any symptoms. It's a very, very sticky virus. Indoors, one person can infect 75% of people in a room within 60 minutes. In Seattle, at a church choir practice, out of 60 people who attended, 45 tested positive for COVID within 14 days. The three components of tracing, testing, and treatment. Contact tracing is the first step. The plan is to use call centers. Apple and Google are trying to develop apps, but we need to know the contacts of a positive individual for the 2 to 3 days prior to their symptoms. Testing. Testing comes in different forms. There's virus testing, which uses a PCR technique. This is where the nasal swab is stuck up your nose or a swab is stuck down your throat. There's antibody testing. This checks if you've been exposed to the virus and have you developed antibodies. Antibodies can take 7 to 10 days to develop after symptoms. This is a blood test, and you may have seen tests online that look like a pregnancy test. And the final part is community isolation and treatment. If an individual is positive, they need to be isolated for full treatment so they don't infect others. Can we do enough tests in Western Massachusetts? Maybe. Right now today we can only do 600 tests a day. We could do more, but we are short on reagents and we are short on disposables. How many tests do we need to do? There are a lot of different estimates that have come out in the last week. One study from Harvard says 155 tests per 100,000 people per day. Another from American Enterprise suggests 2 to 3 million per week, or 150 to 180 tests per 100,000 people per day. In the Pioneer Valley, that would be approximately 600,000 people, or we need to do 1,000 to 1,400 tests per day. About twice as many as we're doing currently. Do we have enough machines to do this? The federal government has approved a number of different testing machines. On the PCR side, the question, do I have a virus? There are two main fast machines that are approved. The Roche Cobas machine can do 482 tests in an 8-hour shift, or about 1,000 tests in 16 hours. The Cefiad 16 is a cartridge-based test, can do 16 cartridges per hour, or approximately 200 tests in 12 hours. On the antibody side, this week Abbott announced that they can do a test on their Architect machine. That could do 100 to 200 tests per hour. According to Abbott, they shipped 1 million tests last week. They plan on shipping 4 million by the end of April and 20 million a month by June. The one you may have seen all over the news is known as a lateral flow test. It is similar to a pregnancy test. Don't use it. It has far too many false positives. This is not a useful test and is giving people a false sense of security, as well as causing a number of people to think they have the virus when they really don't. Let's look at the total capacity in Western Mass. Bay State has a Roche Cobas machine. They could do 500 tests every 8 hours. They also have a Cefiad 16 machine. They could do another 200 tests every 8 hours. Holyoke has a Cefiad machine. I'm uncertain as to Mercy. And at the Biggie right now, they're doing 200 tests per day. So the testing capacity in Western Mass is 1,800 to 2,100 tests per day. This is far above what we need, but a lot more than what we're currently doing. We're limited by the different test kits. On the antibody side, there are Abbott Infinity machines in every major medical center. The capacity is there to do thousands of tests per day. We'll be limited only by the number of test kits that we can get. Right now, Holyoke can't get a Cefiad test kit, and Baystate can only get enough reagents to do 400 tests on their Roche machine each day. Why is that? Well, selling diagnostic machinery is like selling razors and razor blades. They give away the razor and they charge a lot of money for the razor blade. In this essence, they give away the test machine but charge a lot of money for the test kit and for the reagents. And when those are the bottleneck and you can't get them, then your test utilization drops significantly. Currently, the test capacity utilization in the Valley is running only at 20 to 30%. As you can see, there is a lot of testing capacity in the Valley, ranging from the very fast large machine at Baystate through to the Cefiad machines at each of the other individual hospitals and the Big E. We have a total test capacity of around 2,000 per day, but we're only being able to do 600 per day because we're limited by shortages of reagents and test kits. What do we need to do moving forward? Emergency management groups should know the test capacity that we have in the area, the test utilization that we have in the area, what the bottlenecks are in order to ramp up testing utilization, the shortages in reagents and disposables, and should be working with hospital labs to try to address these needs. Businesses should be working with cities and hospital labs to create a test roadmap. There needs to be a plan on who to test: essential workers, people in construction, manufacturing, a percent of a workforce every 2 to 3 days. They should know when to test, symptoms or no symptoms, and also where to test. Should they have swabs done at the workplace that should be picked up? Should there be mobile testing sites? Should people be going to hospital clinics? These are all questions that should be addressed in the next 2 weeks as we try to address the test utilization issues. Thank you for listening.